Good Thursday morning, everyone. It's 21 News Chief Meteorologist Eric Wilhelm. We have a lot to talk about this morning with the forecast for the next couple of days and also with regards to the cold coming next week. The cold is still coming. It's just going to be delayed a little bit as the deep freeze really won't settle in now, we think, until the second half of next week. Let's start out this morning with the surface map across the eastern half of the country, and this is our next weather maker moving through parts of the Midwest. You know, some places got well down into the single digits here locally this morning. It's hard to believe that we'll see rain by tonight, but a pretty good warm front is tracking off to the east this morning, and it's running into this very cold air mass. Again, single digits in some backyards this morning, and other places starting the day in the teens. Precipitation is going to wait until after dark this evening to push in, so we're going to be dry through the daylight hours today. Here's our high-res modeling as we head into the evening. Here's 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. As we head into mid-evening, we may see kind of a mixed bag for a couple of hours. This may come in as a cold rain in some places. It may come in as kind of a mix of rain and snow and maybe some sleet pellets. In some places, this may come in as just some wet snow for a couple of hours right around mid-evening. And then I think everywhere, this is going to eventually change over to rain as we head towards midnight and into the overnight. But some places that hang on to the snow a little bit longer might see a slushy, wet accumulation of snow, especially on non-paved surfaces late this evening. And I think the highest chances for that will be across Mercer County and especially over towards the I-79 corridor, closer to Grove City and heading north towards Sandy Lake. Those are the places that are probably most susceptible to seeing some sort of slushy half an inch to an inch worth of snow late this evening. But even over there, it probably changes to rain as temperatures rise into the mid-30s at about 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. That temperature rise in the middle of the night will be brief. The precipitation is going to shut down probably by 5 or 6 a.m. It may end once again as a brief mixed bag. And as we head into the daylight hours tomorrow, the precipitation's gone, but the story becomes the wind and the cold. Check out the temperature crash that's coming as we head into tomorrow morning. Here's the forecasted temperatures. That would be 4 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. They're going down pretty quickly, going from the mid-30s to the mid-20s in just a few hours. So by the time most people are heading off to work and school Friday morning, temperatures will be around 23, 24, 25, and still falling. We probably won't bottom out until late morning, where we may settle into the upper teens and lower 20s. And also the wind is going to be a factor. So the wind chills tomorrow, starting out the day with wind chills in the teens at daybreak, as again, most people are heading off to work and school, but the wind chills will get worse throughout the day. So wind chills by lunchtime down in the single digits and kind of hovering in the single digits for a lot of the day on Friday. So it's going to feel a lot different outside Friday afternoon than it will this afternoon, and even than it will first thing tomorrow morning. All right, let's talk about the cold that's coming next week. There's been some fairly dramatic model trends over the last 36 hours and even the last 24 hours with regard to the intensity and the timing of the much advertised cold snap that's coming next week. Now, it's obviously going to turn cold on Friday. It's going to be a cold weekend, but we've been talking about how, you know, the most intense cold of the winter season is coming our way next week. It's a matter of being delayed but not denied. The reason why it's a little bit delayed, keep an eye on this feature right here. We're looking at the kind of the jet stream level of the atmosphere here. This is a lobe of the polar vortex. Now, the polar vortex is a misused term, generally speaking. The polar vortex is not attacking Ohio. The polar vortex is not hitting Ohio. That's not how these things work. But little spokes of that polar vortex can occasionally come south. We haven't seen that very often this winter. It's been mostly on the other side of the pole, over into Asia and Europe and Siberia. But this thing is going to come south, but it's going to meet some resistance. Instead of kind of, dive bombing in this direction, it's going to kind of dumbbell like this, because it's going to meet some resistance from a little ridge of high pressure over the southeastern U.S. And what that practically means for us is, while it will be on the chilly side early next week, the worst of the cold is going to be deflected to the north initially, early next week. So Monday, Tuesday. Now, it may get above freezing on Tuesday. But later in the week, that resistance will start to break down, and while this thing kind of bides its time up here over Hudson Bay, eventually it gets far enough to the south and enough cold air gets wrapped in that, yeah, it's still going to turn awfully cold second half of next week. But the first half of the week does not look quite as bad. So here's a look at some model numbers. Don't take these verbatim, but it'll give you a sense as to what, how things will progress. So, up to maybe around freezing, maybe even above freezing in some places early in the week. But then, yeah, we do turn pretty cold second half of the week. These numbers might even be a little optimistic a couple of these days. I could see where we have a day or two, second half of next week, where temperatures don't get out of the teens. Low temperatures, depending on sky cover at night, may drop below zero if we get a clear sky. Clouds tend to act like a blanket and keep us a little bit warmer. Just real quickly to show you kind of how dramatic the changes in the modeling have been. A lot of numbers on here, but this bottom row right here is the most recent European model daily temperature, high temperature forecast. As you go above that, those are the previous runs. So take a look at Monday. The most recent run of the European now has 39 here Monday. It was just 5 runs ago, in other words, about a day and a half ago, that it was forecasting a high of 11 on Monday. So we went from 11 to 39 over the course of 36 hours. So we've seen some pretty dramatic changes. You're going to see our official forecasts on the app and on TV continue to reflect that over the next day or two. I suspect you'll see some much higher numbers in our forecasts on TV this evening for Monday and Tuesday than you previously did. All right, that's enough from me this morning. More talk about the medium range and the longer range on weather for Weather Geeks this evening. I've gotten a lot of questions about, hey, is there snow coming with this cold? There's going to be snowflakes around, but at this point, we don't see a lot of significant snow in the cards for next week. But I'll have a full update on that coming up this evening. Weather for Weather Geeks, 21 News at 6 and 11, and have a great rest of your Thursday.